Defense Department in 2020 wrote a report about this, and they said that the lack of STEM talent in the United States, specifically with computers, is a direct threat to the self-determination of the United States.
What about the national security counterpoint? So, all right, a lot of these recipients come from China and India. Do we really want our STEM workforce, which is the highest foreign-born percentage I think it's ever been? It's like 29% foreign-born in STEM. Do we really want our STEM field dependent on foreign labor? As we enter this new era of geopolitics with China as an adversary, especially, I mean, that's a genuine question.
I mean, I think it's a good concern. What I'll say, China, different issue than India.
Sure.
But I will say
is it though? Because
it's
aren't
actually
they
all the
kind
same.
of aren't they kind of like
no, it's not. I mean,
thinking
the
about
CCP
teaming
wants
up
to
with
destroy the
China
United States.
trying-
The Indian government doesn't want to destroy the United States. Like it's fundamentally different.
You'd be surprised.
I'm just saying they have been making a turn. From what I've heard, India has been making a turn to China, given some of America's policies.
I mean, isn't Modi best friends with Trump anyway?
Well,
for now, yeah.
I would definitely say for national defense, I'm highly suspect about anybody who lives outside the United States working for defense contractors, because they are privy to a lot of compartmentalized information that, if does get out or get sold back to China.
Don't you need to be a U.S. citizen to work?
Yeah, but so what they do
there are other things to get around that, right?
For right now, what they're saying is we have these big companies and they make the software. I think one of the largest companies that that does H1-B recipients, it has to do with the people who do the cloud, Azure or whatever it is. And so
the what? The cloud?
Yeah,
Azure cloud. Microsoft is
Microsoft, right? So they're one of the biggest H1-B employers. And what they do, though, they have a lot of contracts with the U.S. government. What they do, though, is they compartmentalize this, right? So they'll start building parts of the code, and then they hand it off, and then it gets specialized through our Department of Defense. However, if you're building the original base to the code, then you know how to get around it too.
Yeah.
Not saying that happens as much because, like I said, our own team of U.S. citizens in the Department of Defense really works with it themselves. But still, they're building the foundation for that code.
The Trump Defense Department in 2020 wrote a report about this, and they said that the lack of STEM talent in the United States, specifically with computers, is a direct threat to the self-determination of the United States, because if you cannot control the future of artificial intelligence and these other technologies and technological growth, then you are beholden to whoever is developing that. And China is graduating right now twice as many STEM PhDs, specifically in computer science fields, than the United States is. That is, a direct threat to our geopolitics. So, of course, it's a benefit to the United States to, look, we don't need to hire them directly in the U.S. government. We can just free up a lot of the people who are in the private sector right now who are U.S. citizens to be attracted to these government jobs where they need to be working on the type of defense projects that we need them in. So having a larger labor force in this is absolutely a benefit to our national security, even the Trump defense.
Though I will also say
that
there is a lack of vetting that is enough, and I'll give you one story. So I had one Chinese student one time asking me for advice to get a job or something. She sent me her resume and wanted to meet up, and I see the resume. What was the top experience thing? Organizer for the Chinese Communist Party. Are you kidding me? Oh. I'm not going to help an organizer. She volunteered the information. And I'm just thinking, what is the State Department doing when they're granting visas that you do? Somebody who proud to be an organizer for the CCP. So I do think, I don't want communists, I don't want adversaries, but I do think that the brain drain is a trade-off. So yes, you do risk something with that. U.S. citizens are also bribed to give information to foreign countries, by the way. This isn't just an immigration problem. This happens all the time with Americans. But there is a trade-off because you do not want to be dependent on China for chips. You don't even want to be dependent on Taiwan for chips, right? And this whole issue that we have foreign policy is because we can't build it here. And
part of that's their neon, too. I mean, the Ukraine and Taiwan are the biggest producers of neon. So
no, but Taiwan has TSMC. We import all our high quality chips from Taiwan, and the solution that the Biden administration did was let's just give hundreds of billions to these companies with DEI conditions, by the way,
Right.
and all these stupid things. And then they can't even open because they don't have the Taiwanese high-skilled workers. Well, we should let them in, brain drain those countries, and then we will actually be independent.
But you're right. I'm not just so sure I trust the government to screen these applicants. I really don't. I mean, I think.
But then we can't even trust them to screen the Americans who are also sold out.
That's true too. That's true too. But at least they're supposed to be here, right? Like that's part of
This
the
is their
problems that we're
country.
seeing. And I see that debate with immigration all the time is that they'll say, okay, well, the immigrants that are coming over here, they don't commit that much crime. Well, anything that they any crime that they commit is crime that shouldn't have been here in the first place. But I'm talking about illegal immigrants, right?
Right.
And they seem to forget that. Like they cause nominal crime. Well, it should be none. They shouldn't.
That's right.
They shouldn't be here. So I don't know if the crime is like that great of an argument when it comes to this. I don't think the people coming in that are making
Well, and
120,
especially
30.
legal immigrants.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're not trying to get in trouble.
I can't even find an anecdote of an H1-B immigrant who committed like a.
I'm sure there's. I'm
sure there
there's
is.
some.
I'm sure there is. But the
there's
fact
they're
that we
often
haven't
in
even
white
seen them in the
collar.
news.
It's the white collar world that they're occupying. So I'm sure the crimes would be like
White collar crime.
right, or something that has to do with surveillance or intelligence.
evasion.
Yeah, it's not going to be a migrant like gang attack in New York City. It's going to be of a different nature.
Also, these people are exploited, right? So back to for those who want these people to come in mass, right? Aren't these people exploited through these companies that will do mass? What are they? They bring they'll go to India and they'll say, hey, we're going to get you contracts. I'll contract you out. We'll sponsor your H1B. Then
That's my question.
They take, what are they called? Body shops, right? You never heard of body shops?
I mean, I hear that as a derogatory term,
No.
not as something that.
No, but the Indian contracting firms that charge Indians
Body
in India
shops.
to get into the lottery, they get them here. They get paid, say, $50K a year.
So can I
yeah,
just, sorry, can I just ask, like, what exactly is the process for an H-1B visa holder to get to the United States and start working for a company? And what part of that process needs to be reformed?
Yes. So first step, the company needs to want to have somebody, right? And
Yeah.
then they apply with the Department of Labor for what's called labor conditions application. They have to certify that they're paying the prevailing wage for the occupation, the experience, all of that. After that's approved, that's usually quick, they apply with USCIS. Even though, and this is where the whole misinformation happened on Twitter, everybody was using the LCAs, the labor
I-129,
applications. When having an approved LCA doesn't mean you have an approved H-1B. It just means you are approved to apply for an H-1B. And then USCIS, the immigration agency, can approve or reject your application. They say, no, this wage is too low. Or this wage is not good. The location is not approved.
Is there a background check?
Yeah.
There's
when you do the
biometrics
visa,
and all
yeah.
of that.
Biometrics too?
But this is so far without a visa yet. Like the labor conditions is not for a specific person yet. Then you do the actual application with immigration for the person. If that's approved,
Right.
and they're abroad, they go to a consulate. If they're already here, say an international student, that's very common, they just change status. And they were already vetted before they came here as an international student.
Yeah.
So even though I argued that the vetting process is not good enough for like China or whatever. And then they can start working after that's approved if they get selected in the lottery. And it's a lottery subject application.
Okay, so out of like 500,000 applicants, how many?
85,000
Are
85,000.
selected.
are selected.
But what's kind of tricky about that number is like right now I think we have around 500,000 people that are here on H-1B this year. Like they're given out because even though you have the 65,000 of high school graduates and then the 20,000 of master's degrees.
That's right.
That's what the new ones that get approved every year. But remember, they can be here 3 to 6 years.
And then they're waiting for their green card.
And it doesn't count towards the cap, right?
That's
so
right.
like if there, so the reason we have so many is because that's only for the new year, but there's 500,000 because those people don't, like the people that are getting theirs renewed doesn't count towards the cap of this new year. So
It's
right
mostly
now
because
there's
of the
about 500,
Indians.
and I think it's 580,000 people here on H-1B right now in this country, working in this country. So it's a 500,000.
The problem with the green card stuff is that because it's taking so long to sponsor somebody for a permanent employment-based green card, what the companies are doing is that I'm just going to sponsor you for an H-1B. and I'm immediately beginning the green card process. If the green card process didn't take 3 years, there would be half the number of H1-B applications. It's really just a Band-Aid so that people can begin working before they get their green card.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.